Good good morning everybody. I figured on the Uncle John show I would start early with this podcast or episode or whatever you want to call it. And tell you a little bit about a story that I have. So, when I was a lot younger, my neighbor across the street, Glenn Barack Sr., had gotten me a job working in the unions. So I worked in the plumbing union as an apprentice. I worked in the electric union as an apprentice when I was around years of high school into college. So, I have certain things I want to explain about this story. So, at the time, I had met a relative from the Zangrillo family and someone from the Castellano family. Or you call them the what are they called? They were called the Castellanos, or they would call the another name similar to that. I'll look it up shortly, but I want to just explain the rest. It's Castellano, Cantasano, yada yada yada. Okay, so when I was in the union, even when I was over in the Long Island Railroad, the LIRR, when I was there, I met Thomas prior to this. He was in the Belmore Fire Department, so I was a junior member in the Belmore Fire Department. So I'll just here, hold on. I just want to give you the correct numbers. Plumbing union, no, I think plumbing union number 1, I think, was the first one. Plumbing union number 1, NYC. Yeah, UA, local union number 1, the plumbers of New York City. Okay, it's in Long Island City. That's one of them that I worked at. Now I'm going to go number 3, which was the electric union in the city, and I think that's electricians. Okay. Yeah. The IBW 3, local union number 3, the IEW. Okay. So that was another one. And then I also did stuff for 25, which is another electrical union. You know, they're electricians. They're in Long Island here. Okay. IBEW Local 25. And then I put the LIR Electrical, because I work for electrical engineering. Bethpage was location, but I also went to the other location. Okay. LIRR. I just want to make sure I have it. The MTA LIRR Engineering. Okay, the location is in Bethpage, 610 Hicksville Road, Bethpage. They're engineers. So I worked there, and I also worked in Jamaica. Jamaica LIRR as well, because their headquarters is there as well. That's where I was at. So I was at different places when I was working, but I want to explain to you my experience. So, okay. So yes. Okay. So, when I was there, I'm going to maximize it. When I was there, when I was 15, my boss, see, in Long Island City, there's like a Home Depot. Let me look at this up. Labor. I'll give you the construction. It was like a Home Depot in Long Island City. Labor Union for Construction Union. I'll put supermarket. I think it was in Long Island City, ladies and gentlemen. It was like a grocery, yeah. Yeah, it was like a grocery store, you could say, or a supermarket. I think this is it. I think this is it. Hold on. Nope, that's not it. Okay, I'll get back to the story. Okay. So the union I was working with dealt with construction. So in Long Island City and these other places, they had a place, like a warehouse, that they would go to, like a Home Depot or a Lowe's, where they would pick up parts. Sometimes we had to pick up parts in different places, but most of the time we had to pick up parts in this place in Long Island City. I was assigned to that place. So Matthew and Vito were my bosses at the time. So I met the Zangrillo family. I met the Cantasano family. I met the Castellano family and such. And when I was there, they had me. I didn't take courses at Nassau Community College at that time. There was courses that they had me go in for courses that was at, I think it was called York College. York, I think that was one of the places. It was York, all right, let me see. City University, I think it was York College. York College, yeah. Yeah, York College was one of them. It's the City University of New York. And the other one was Queensboro that I went to. Queensboro Community College, yeah. Queensboro Community College. And let me maximize this. When I was at both of those places, they had me take courses for like things that have to do with the union. So I learned things about plumbing. Some of the places like the IBEW, just like Local 25, they had me take courses. So Glenn's dad helped me learn about construction. And then I met a person later named Willie Thomas and other people. You know, I worked at Bose Corporate Service. I worked at Allied Barton. I met certain people in Nassau University Medical Center that they did work at the hotels like the Hilton in the city, or I did work for Macy's. Well, those are the things that I'm trying to educate you, because I'll give you a little bit of a gist. I had a girlfriend named Jessica. We were friends in college. So she went to some sort of technical school in the city. She was a model. So she went to New York University, and she did things related to styling. And I met her when I was at Nike, because one of the McCarthy family relatives, her first name was Melissa, who was my boss at Nike at the time. This is in college. This is when I was in my 20s. The whole reason I'm bringing up all these people is they were networking. And what they were doing is they were picking certain people in these positions. So I did a lot of internship programs. So Mr. Suvero and Mr. Spector, you know, Michael and all of these people, they basically explained this to me in law school, that they don't want, when you go for an interview, they don't want people to have jobs where they're there for like they want you to have consistency. That's what the Human Resource Center, meaning the department, Human Resource Department, when they go look at applications or people that they want to hire, They want to make sure you have consistency. They want to make sure you're an asset, not a liability. You're not going to cause a problem. And they're very hesitant towards certain things in the military, ladies and gentlemen. They don't really explain that in the public sector. And that's something that a lot of these people who are Navy SEALs, there's a person by the name of David Goggins, and he explains certain things in the books, just like Jesse Ventura as well in his books with conspiracies. That you don't know, Manhattan is not really a stable economy. It's not really stable economy because there are things going on with the hospitals and the courthouses and things related to businesses, because companies like my financial advisors at Mutual Inc. and I met people at the company called Peabody, which is like a financial institution, like Merrill Lynch, like Morgan Stanley. These investment companies are getting a hit with a beating because Mr. President Donald Trump, you cannot be hitting people with tariffs. How are, you have to think about something, Mr. President. The Peace Corps gets a certain percent. The Peace Corps gets a certain percentage. The AmeriCorps gets a certain percentage. These are things that I started analyzing when I was in my workman's comp case. The real problem is with the workers' comp and Social Security, the disability, I'm going to state, you have to be able to have a certain amount of money to survive. Now, I was in the hospital. I met a person, when I was in the hospital, I was in a room with a group of people that they were all sick. Now, I'm going to explain this about NUMC, that they're going to have problems. You can't be in a hospital with a certain amount of patients where they're not really stable or the room is not really stable. That's why you're not ever going to see that hospital is going to have to do construction. You can't have certain things. It's even in construction with unions. You have to do certain guidelines or else you don't follow Department of Health nor Department of Labor's standards. You can't have a room that's overheated because you'll get sick. This is how people get sick. This is how infections and diseases come about. So that's what I have to say regarding that matter, regarding NUMIC. It really wasn't stable for patients. It really wasn't stable for employees. That's the problem. That's what I have to say regarding that matter, because it's all related. Because when I was in construction, you couldn't do anything without knowing their version of what you call the Bill of Rights. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hospitals are not following those Bill of Rights. You can't, somebody like me, I have severe allergies. Not only do I have severe allergies, I have to be careful with things with the environment. Well, my parents, my mom's a nurse, my dad was in the hospital as a HSO officer. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say to you, how are you not following the hospital, the hospital standards? Meaning, you got to follow the New York State patient rights, the hospital patient Bill of Rights. You can't have. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot go against the hospital Bill of Rights. And if you're going against that, you're going to get sued. They will sue you. That's why I'm not allowed to go to NUMIC. I was there for a year and a half. I was registered. I did stuff for shared labs. I was labeled as a morgue attendant for a year and a half. They have not paid me. They have not paid me. The retirement and everything, I have to explain this in a workers' comp case. It's all related. And another thing too with this Owen and Cohen, I'm going to explain because of the hospital. You can't have me billed to my house when you have to bill the insurance company or workers' comp. That's exactly what Alan Clark said. Owen and Cohen could have stolen Alan Clark's license, and he wouldn't have known. It's the same thing with Tain Law. Tain Law, Mrs. Leslie Tain's relative, said to me she had her identity stolen. Well, if she had her identity stolen, don't you think you should contact John? You can't send bills to my house. I wasn't even here. I was in Cornell University. I was in Cornell University at the time of all of this events. I only had one workers' comp case. I didn't have two. Oscar Sanchez got hurt. I didn't get hurt. I was a witness. I saw the incident happen. That's what it's all related to, ladies and gentlemen. That's something that Jessica and I and some of my friends like Valerie said. You can't lie to the police. You can't lie to the medical or the legal board. You know, there's a legal board involved in this matter with myself. There's legal and ethical, there's ethics and compliance that has to be followed. And I'm going to say this to this YouTubes. All right? I'm going to say this to the Google and Apple. They are not ever going to have me retake an exam again. I'm going to say that. You're not ever having me retake an LSAT, an MCAT, the American Bar Test, the CPA, You're not ever having me retake those tests again. If I ever retake those tests, I am going to sue you. Because you have an IEP that I had to hand. And that's something that even New York University was starting to ask questions. Why do you have these accommodation forms when the kid, meaning myself or JJ, filled out the forms? And not only that, I had to testify on the college's behalf because you stole student aid. You stole student aid information. You can't steal student aid information from Columbia or NYU or NASA. You can't steal that information. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. That's what this Hartford or Hartford and Sedgwick Insurance did. You can't steal licenses or diplomas. That's what I'm trying to explain. Because for the life of me, I don't understand why I had 2 cell phone numbers they leaked. It was a virtual hearing. I had my emails leaked. There's no way I give out any of my information. The only reason I'm doing this is out of respect, is to explain, just like Jessica, because she got bullied. Or Angelina V. Angelina V got bullied for cyberbullying as well. And I'll show a picture of her. She's an excellent person. She's a friend of mine on the... I met her in New York City and we talked. But you can't cyberbully us. That's cyberbullying. And it's not only cyberbullying, you're silencing me from being able to explain to those people what the heck is going on. So thank you guys. Have a pleasant and wonderful day. I'll do another episode today, but I'll do it in the afternoon time. Thank you. Take care, everybody. Take care.